All right, Washington leaves office. So Washington served two terms. The first term was only 3 years. It worked out that way. But his second term was four, like we have today. Could have run for a third term, but he chose not to. At this point in time, there's nothing in the Constitution that said you couldn't run for two terms or more than two terms. What he did is he set a precedent. Remember, a precedent is something that it's an example that others follow. It's kind of passed down. He set the precedent of presidents only serving two terms at most. And that went on for 130, 140 years until Franklin Roosevelt ran successfully for four terms. They then changed it in the Constitution. So Washington is leaving office, and he warned of two different threats. Number one, he warns that the country should stay out of disagreements between other countries. France and Britain during this time period, they had been at war with one another, and they were trying to draw the United States in. So Washington's issuing the warning to stay out of it. Don't get involved, otherwise we could get dragged into war. The second warning he gives is about political parties. And this is from the quote from the book. Said it was natural for people to hold different opinions, but he warned against the dangers of passionate loyalty to parties, meaning political parties. And we get introduced to the word faction. This is a word we don't really use anymore, but a faction is easy. It's an organized political group. It's a political party. Today, we just use the word political parties. And I want to show you real quick. Oh, I forgot about this. In 1787, when they're writing the Constitution, there was no mention of factions. The authors saw no good use for them whatsoever. So this is showing us the first three presidential elections, 1789, 1792, and 1796. If you quickly look at this, you'll see presidential elections have changed a lot. And I'll introduce a few of the ways they've changed. One thing that we see at first, in the first election, there were no political parties. Then we see them pop up in 1792, but hopefully you notice these political parties no longer exist today. There's no Federalist Party. There's no Anti-Federalist. We do see the Republican Party show up in 1796, but this isn't the Republican Party of today. Then another thing, if we go over to the column, this is showing us who won the Electoral College. You'll see these numbers are lower. I'm not going to add these up, but it's around 140, I believe. Today, there are 540 some Electoral College votes. You have to remember back then, there's only 13 states, so the number is lower. The final thing I want you to notice is the election of 1792. So Washington finishes in first. He gets 132. Adams finishes in second, 77. But notice they're from the same political party. That doesn't happen today. If I showed you the 2020 election, you're going to have Biden. I can't remember how many Electoral College votes he had. Let's say he had 300. And then it would show Trump, who was in a different political party, with 200. He had right around that. So obviously something weird is going on here, that multiple Federalists and Anti-Federalists are all getting Electoral College votes. The moral of the story here is, in the first few elections for president, there were some things that they did that later they realized, okay, this isn't great how we're doing it, and they're going to make some changes. Okay, after reviewing the chart, you're able to see several different political parties. The two we're going to focus on now is the Federalists and the Republican parties. They're going to be the dominant parties of early America. In this unit, we'll spend time with that.